August 3rd, 1944. In the skies over the town of Vire in France, the law of averages caught up with fighter pilot Quentin Anensen of Luverne, Minnesota.
I was flying the tail end Charlie position, which means the last one in the line of flight, which is the most vulnerable position because that's the one they'll start with first. And suddenly the 88s and 20 millimeters started coming up in heavy amounts, and just boom, I heard this roar through my airplane, and fire came into the cockpit, and just all in an instant. My airplane was shaking. I thought, I'm gone. So I tried to bail out. I tried to move the canopy back, and a piece of flak had come up through the glide, and so I couldn't get the canopy open, couldn't get it open. The fire was still coming at me, and so I put the plane in a dive because we'd always discussed that we didn't want to die by burns. And so I put the plane in a dive. I was only at 4,000 feet, so I could hit the ground fast. And that move literally saved my life because the air pressure changed, and so the flames were sucked out through that opening in the canopy, and that fire died out. When I got back to the base, I would stall if my speed dropped below 160 miles an hour. So I landed at 170 miles an hour. And I didn't know that one of the 20 millimeters had come up through my left wheel well, and I had a flat tire there. So when the landing gear collapsed on one side, I was still going about 100 miles an hour. And I was spun around by the force. My shoulder harness on the right broke loose. The left one held. I was spun around at the back of my head, hit the gun sight. So I was unconscious, and a couple of enlisted men had pulled me out and pulled me away from there.
After medics tended to his dislocated shoulder and the burns on his legs, a British photographer from Picture Post magazine asked Anensen to pose with his plane.
Al McIntosh, Rock County Star-Herald. Lieutenant John Stavanger, bomber pilot now in England, has decided it's a mighty small world after all. He hadn't hardly landed before he bumped into Lieutenant Howard James of Luverne. Then he leisurely settled back and read an English magazine. He looked at one big picture of a wrecked plane. The picture carried the caption, "The man who was lost returns to base." The pilot in question was none other than Lieutenant Quentin Anensen of Luverne. His family knew nothing of the incident. And the picture showed the Luverne youngster walking away from his wrecked plane as blithely unconcerned as if he'd just bought a nickel's worth of candy.
A week after his close call, Anensen was back in the air, providing ground cover for the Americans advancing toward Germany.